All right, here we go. Part 2 of my favorite 5 synths. We're going to go with our mid-level, our intermediate synths, those that are priced between $500 and $1,000. Before we get into that, hit that like, hit that subscribe. I'm going to keep the content rolling. Now let's get into our favorite 5 synths, intermediate. Let's go. Alright, let's go. First on our list, we're going to get it going with a nice little sucker punch. The Korg Minilogue XD. This thing is a great synth, a great update to the original. The original was a great synth. I love the bellish tone of it, which a lot of people don't like, but that's what I like about it. The fact that it feels like icing. It don't feel like the cake. It feels like icing. That's what I like about this synth. 2 oscillators, and this one added a digital oscillator, which makes it basically ever expanding. That's where you get your noise from. They took the noise circuit away, but it has waveforms of noise inside of the third oscillator. They have some waveforms, and you can load your own. It's user expandable. So like I said, it makes this synth ever expanding. One of the biggest things they put inside of this one is an ARP. They didn't have an ARP in the last one, and I thought that was a big no. They should have put an ARP inside of that last one because of the tone of it, in my opinion. This one has a bigger step sequencer, so the last one was only 8 steps. This one is 16, and it's polyphonic, and you can add motion sequencing. 4 different parameters can be motion. So it's almost, like I say, it's a baby wave state. I call it a wave station 2.0. It's not a wave state, but it's better than a wave station. So yeah, it's pretty cool, man. It's a nice little synth. I like the fact that you got the reverb and the delay option on this one, which is great. I really can't say anything bad about it. Only little small gripe I have is the little small slim keys, so I opted for the module over the keyboard this time, because the first version we had the keyboard, and even though it was pretty cool playing chords on it, was pretty nice, but when you get into really playing, it was kind of annoying. So we opted for the module this time, which was definitely a great call. It's a little small, little mods. You can do mod matrix so yeah, the LFO you can send where you want. Not too expansive when it comes to the mod, but you can get a couple things done, which is not bad. Definitely for a synth in this price range. So if you're looking for something that's gonna give you different tones, and to my ears, I don't really hear any other synth that sounds like it. You can have the $3,000 synths. You can have a room full of them, and you still can add the Minilogue. It'll give you something that those don't have, So yeah, it's a little simple synth. It has its sound. Is if you like that Minilogue sound, though, it does have a sound. It's not gonna be like those synths that you could just program and get anything out of. Nah, it's got a sound, and I like that sound. So try out the Minilogue XD. It's #1 on my intermediate list. Okay, next on my list is the Moog Subsequent 25. I know a little bit about the Subsequent. I got one right here, but the 25 makes my intermediate list because this thing is a great synth for less than $1,000. It comes in about $825, I think, $850, and it's almost basically like you got my Subsequent, man. It's a great synth. It's 2 oscillators and a sub oscillator. The sub oscillator follows the first oscillator, and then you can hard sync 1 and 2. You can detune them. It's still 2-note paraphonic, so you still do some crazy stuff with it. Still's got multi-drive on it. What they did take away is the ARP and the sequencer, which I don't know, it's probably the only synth on the market that's almost $1,000 with no ARP or sequencer. So that's a minus, but it's a great synth for the price. It sounds phenomenal. Like I said, it's only a little small differences between the two. Well, that's not a small difference, but it's only a few differences between the two. The envelope generators, you can do a little bit more sound design type of things with them on the 37. They took it away, so they just gave you straight Moog bass on this one. 16 preset slots, And it's great for somebody like me, because more than 16, I don't need that for like bass and leads. Honestly, I use like the same 9 bass sounds. Like, so that's a great thing for me. Like sometimes my Subsequent 37, I will say, it gets too busy for me sometimes when I'm just looking for bass, just looking to boom, pull out something that's gonna knock something off the walls. And this Subsequent 25 does that. I could boom, get to a setting quick, knock some stuff off of the walls with my bass. That's what I'm looking for. It's the same feel I used to have back with the Sub Fatty, but this one is just voiced and sounds a little bit better than me, in my opinion. So yeah, the Subsequent 25 definitely makes this list. You still get your CV, so that's a big bonus. USB, it's all still there. It's just, it cuts off some of the features that the average user, because I'm not gonna lie, a lot of those features I don't use because I'm just looking for straight bass. The oscillator sound phenomenal. You got the usual suspects: triangle, sawtooth, square, and pulse. So yeah, you can get some things done with it, and that paraphonic 2 notes is still there, so you can't go wrong with it. The Moog Subsequent 25 definitely is number 2 on my intermediate synth list. Okay, next on my list is the Behringer Deepmind, and that's either one: the 6-voice version, the 12-voice desktop, or the 12-voice keyboard. All are within the 500 to 1,000 range. It's more just about, honestly, you just pick the one according to your workflow. Like obviously 12 is more than 6, but if you only got 500 bones, 550, you get the 6. That's still more voices than like the Minilogue or like a real Juno 106. And the reason I say that is because it's kind of like, guys, the aesthetics of like a 106. It looked like it's built around the same architecture almost. Except for this one has 2 real oscillators on a 106. You gotta, basically they all come through together. So yeah, this one is nice. 2 LFOs, like I referenced, 2 oscillators. You get an envelope for the filter, you get an envelope for the amp, which is nice, and the effects second to none. What I will say about this synth, even more than previous synths I may have talked about, this one, you can get things done without having like the app. But this thing goes from a middle of the road synth to a phenomenal one if you got that iPad app. Like, it's literally cheap enough and worth it to buy the synth and buy an iPad just to have the app. Because when you got the app, you can dig into that effect suite a lot easier. With anyone used to using like Behringer X32 boards and live sound and all that, the matrix and the actual effects themselves, you kind of used to those effects. They're pretty good, especially inside of a synth. You got all those options. You got 4 effect slots, which is crazy on a synth. What else for this thing? Art sequencer, which is nice. Yeah, it's a great synth, man, especially if you get the 6-voice version for $550. This is unheard of. And honestly, it's like certain synths, like they like the time bomb that changes things, like the Minilogue changed things. They gave us a $500 synth, and it was a phenomenal analog synth. This one kind of did the same thing. They kind of like make everybody honest, like boom, we time bomb. We're gonna give you a 12-voice analog synth for less than $1,000. And it's funny because this thing has a weird path, because when it came out it was over $1,000 or at $1,000, then it went down to like $600. Now it's up to like $800. So it's weird. I don't know if it's like a manufacturing thing, or I know at first it was like $1,200 or $1,000, and it was worth it at $1,000 because you was comparing it to like the profits and stuff like that. So a profit was double the price, so it was worth it. But then it went down to like $600. I don't know why, but then it went back up to like $800. So yeah, I don't know if they was thinking about discontinuing this or they were getting rid of them. I don't know, but this is still one of my favorite synths in the intermediate market. It's not really too many sounds you can't get with it. Like, they're DCOs, they're not VCOs, which that kind of doesn't mean anything to some people, but some people, weirdos like myself, that means something. So that may throw you off. Control everything better on here when you have the iPad app. It took me, I had the 6-voice, and then I bought the 12-voice. I sold it because I'm like, man, it was aggravating going into the menu diving. There's a lot of menu diving on this synth. I had the 6-voice keyboard. I didn't like it. I sold it. And then I got the 12-voice desktop. And then something told me to download that app on my iPad. I did it, connected it to it. Boom! It's like, it feels like another synth. It's not even the same thing. So grab that. It's a great synth. The one that's the most value for the buck is the desktop. And I'm seeing them. They seem like they could discontinuing those because it's hard to find the desktop. You can catch the 6 voice, no problem. You can catch the 12 voice, no problem. But the desktop one is starting to get a little bit more thin. So if you got a nice keyboard setup and you just want to have some different sounds, because I look at this as a texture synth. It's not gonna give you those crazy deep basses. It's gonna give you that texture, like that bed in the background. That's what this synth is great for. So if you need that and you can't afford a Prophet, buy this. If you can't afford a Jupiter or like a 80 synth that gives you that dope stuff, this synth kind of gives you kind of that feel. It's not a Jupiter, it's not, you know what I'm saying, a Prophet, but it'll give you some of that feel. So definitely a nice one to add to your repertoire if you got a few synths and you looking for something cheap just to add. You get like me, sometimes I get antsy and I just need new sounds. This is a great one to do that with because it's not too much coin. So check it out, Behringer Deepmind, either one, the rack or desktop rack. I had it in the rack. The desktop, the 6 voice or the 12 voice. Either one, you can't go wrong. Even the 6 voice, you only got how many fingers you really playing them chords with. You know what I'm saying? So something to check out though. Next on my list is the Elektron Digitone. This one is FM synthesis, and that's FM synthesis to me is like strange magic, man. I'm kind of lazy when it comes to like programming FM, so I like using presets. I like the tone, but I don't like building them. And this thing has phenomenal sounds in it. 37 keys, 8 voices. Oh man, this thing is crazy. And this is the first multi-timbral synth on my list. So you can get 4 parts out of this. And what's crazy about it is 4 stereo outs is 1 for each part, which is crazy. Like that's crazy for a synth like of this price range, man. Like this thing is only $1,000. Like, so for you to be able to come out each sound by individually, that's crazy, man. Like I said, it's more a preset synth than me. I'm not like the most keen on like programming FM, but I like the sound of it. So if you one of those guys that love programming FM and you want to get into like you don't want to go vintage with it, you want to get something that was made sometime in this century, this one is a great option. The software that comes with it, you can put it up as a plug-in and be able to recall anything inside of your session. You can actually, if you got it hooked up USB, you can actually record, like use it as an interface to record into the tracks of your session. So let's say, like, you know, like I said, you're using a 4-part multi-timbrality or whatever, you can actually record all 4 parts into your track through the USB connection on it. So yeah, and you can save that inside of the session to have a recall. So yeah, it's pretty nice, man. Like that software alone is worth a couple $100, like that capability is worth a little bit to me. I'm not even gonna sit up here and act like I'm the best at like programming FM. I'm not. I hate it, to be honest, but I like the sound of it, like certain bass sounds and certain like lead sounds you can get from it, or chords, you know. It's according to how you're using it. So this is probably one of the best options far as like pure synth engine on my 500 to 1,000 range. Is probably way better than I'm giving it credit. It's like one of those things, you see something, you like, I know that's special. I don't know why it's special, but I know it's special. That's what this thing is, because it sounds special. I've used it a few times. I don't actually own it. I've used it like enough to like, I actually had a friend of mine who let me trade. I traded in one of my synths for about 3 weeks and I had it on hand. So I've used it kind of extensively, went through every preset in it. Sounds great, man. The Elektron Digitone is definitely a great synth, and I definitely think you should add it to your repertoire. Especially if you like one of those people that might buy a DX7, don't go vintage with that one. Just buy this one. You'll get some of that same feel. So check it out, the Digitone. All right, last but definitely not least on my list is the ASM Hydrasynth desktop. This thing is coming in at $800. It's 8 voices, 3 oscillators. It's a monster. I like the little matrix on the bottom left of it, so you can hit any button and then it comes up on the controls, and you basically can control anything inside of the synth with just that little setup. It's a digital synth, obviously that's the only way you'll be able to do that, but you can get so much tone out of this little box. It's crazy. You got envelopes for days, LFOs for days, CV input and output, and it's got a little pad matrix. Those pads are actually polyphonic, so that's what the actual keyboard of this synth is pretty dope, because it's got that polyphonic aftertouch keyboard, but you can get some of that done on the pads too, which is crazy. The only thing I can see you missing out on between the keyboard and the desktop is it's got a strip on there that it's not on the desktop, so that strip almost worth that $400 to be honest. But if you on a budget between $500 and $1,000, then yeah, you grab this one. Like I say, it's a synth sound designer's dream, man. It's basically anything you could think of. It's inside of that box. You just got to play around with it. It's got everything, man, as far as like syncing, oscillators, ring mod, all type of stuff, man. And the whole matrix, the fact that you can hit, not have to menu dive, not have to do all the crazy stuff. You just got to hit whatever parameter you want to affect, and it comes up on the 8 knobs. I like the fact too that it has the master cutoff and area and resonance right there in the middle of it. So you know how we get into our grooves and want to just play around with the filter. At least it's not hard to get to your filter and stuff like that. So I like that's in the middle of the keyboard. You got your I'm a preset person when it comes to certain synths. This is one of those preset ones because they got some dope sounds straight out of the box. The first time I used this joint was at NAMM last year, and I was at that booth for like 2 hours, man. Like, for real, I was there for like 2 hours. I know the people got tired of me. I didn't care, because obviously out of all the synths on this list, this is the only one from a company I've like. They're like a new company, so I was on some I don't believe the hype type of thing. So I was sitting there playing around with it for like 2 hours, and like the first 20 minutes was like, let me see, but then after that was all like pleasure. That was just me playing around, getting deep into the synth. I didn't have a spot for it as far as the keyboard, but then when they brought the desktop out, it came out a little bit later. I ended up buying like a Pro 3, so now the budget is getting there. I can buy myself that desktop, add it to a rack. So yeah, that's literally the next synth on my list. It's being added to the repertoire. It might be in the repertoire by the time this video comes out. The ASM Hydrasynth desktop. That's the last one, number 5 on my intermediate synth list. Check it out. Check out the videos for it, and you'll hear the crazy sound beds that you haven't heard on a little small desktop synth that you can get for under $1,000. It's pretty dope. So there you have it. That's my list of my 5 intermediate synths between $500 and $1,000. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know if this helped you make a decision, or if you know of some other ones that I should have included that may be killing these. Let me know. Put me up on game. Hit me with that like, hit me with that subscribe. Stay in tune with me. We're gonna keep it going, keep it moving. Part 3 of this, we're gonna go with our high-end big boys, 1,000 and up. That's on the next one. So stay in tune with me. We're gonna keep it going. Peace.